We often assume that pain is something that we have to fight or to fix. But what the real key is learning to redirect our energy. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Joining me is a good friend and colleague of mine, Kathie Owen. She's a corporate wellness consultant, and she's also a reality transurfing expert, which is the book we're going to talk about today, who helps people to apply these powerful principles for real transformation using the concepts of this book. So together, we're going to explore how our thoughts, beliefs, and even our energy patterns shape our body and can influence pain. So welcome, Kathie.
Well, thank you for having me today. I'm really excited to talk about this. It's one of my favorite topics is reality transurfing. And I love talking about how it applies to health and wellness as well. And I look forward to diving into this topic.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here. And for those of you that don't know me, I am Jenna. I'm a movement and pain relief expert. And we're live streaming this here in the Facebook group, Thrive Beyond Pain, as well as on YouTube. So welcome to everybody. And if you're joining us today, please comment where you're coming from, where you're tuning in from, in the comments below. And have you heard of this book by Vadim Zeland, Reality Transurfing? So we're discussing, so what reality transurfing means, and I want to have Kathie elaborate on this a little bit more too, but it's a method of surfing reality towards healing or towards the goal that you want instead of getting stuck in these default cycles. So when it comes to the body, these default cycles of pain. And so he's teaching us how to redirect our attention so that energy, because energy follows attention, right? When we focus on pain, we reinforce that injury or that pain that we're struggling with. So by shifting our focus towards ease, alignment, and possibility, we can move into a reality where pain holds less power over us. And this isn't just about positive thinking, right? So it's an energetic shift that rewires your nervous system and subconscious beliefs about what's possible for your body. And one of the key concepts that guides us on this journey in this book is the idea of pendulums. So, Kathie, I would love to hear your thoughts on this and what is a pendulum? What does that mean?
Okay, well, I want to start with what reality transurfing is. It is a book written by Russian quantum physicist Vadim Zeland. And a lot of the points that he talks to are pretty much they're in all spiritual teachings, if you think about it. It was pretty much channeled and that type of thing. But how it relates to physical health and wellness and what the pendulum is. I think it's kind of weird that he calls it a pendulum, but I think that's a word that's lost in translation. But what a pendulum is just a thought structure that everybody thinks, and it grows with your energy. So you give your energy to the pendulum when you are hooked by it. So, for example, if you have a favorite sports team and they start to lose the game, you give into your energy into the pendulum when you get upset. And one of the most famous quotes in the book is dissatisfaction and lack of fulfillment are the pendulum's favorite dish. So, when we think about pain and managing pain, we're sitting there in dissatisfaction and we're not happy that we are hurting. And so we are giving our energy to this pendulum. And the more you give to it, the deeper you get hooked, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That totally makes sense. Wow, so powerful. I mean, I know for me, my own personal experience with this is that, this has to do with groupthink, right? Go
It
ahead.
is groupthink. It can be dogma. It can be it can be a number of things. It can be, and not all pendulums are bad or destructive, but yes, it can be a type of groupthink, especially when we start to talk about illness and, maybe in the news, they're talking about some kind of pandemic going on and people start panicking. And next thing you know, I mean, Vadim even talks about it in the book. Next thing you know, you start to show the symptoms of it because you caved to the pendulum. So yeah, it is a form of groupthink.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I wanted then to segue with that into the chapter that I find is the most relevant. I mean, they all could apply to what we're talking about here in this group when it comes to holistic pain relief methods, but in chapter 11, that's the energy chapter. It's such a fascinating chapter, and he delves into the significance of energy flow within the body and its impact on your well-being. But he talks here, and I'll just quote what he says in the book really quick. He says, from early childhood, we are conditioned to believe that aging and illness are inevitable. Society reinforces this belief through casual conversations, birthday wishes, and cultural norms that subtly suggest our health is declining. When we engage in discussions about ailments, we unknowingly feed into a destructive cycle, what this passage calls the illness game. The illness game begins when we accept symptoms as a confirmation of decline. We talk about them, we seek validation, identify with the role of being unwell, and the more energy we give to this narrative, the stronger it becomes, pulling us into a cycle of chronic pain or sickness. But there's another option, which is the healing game. So instead of passively suffering, we can take an active role in our well-being, shifting our focus from illness to health. And then, he just goes on and on to say all these amazing things. How do you relate to that quote there?
Oh yeah, for sure. This is very, very, very powerful. And he talks about having infinite realities. There are infinite solutions to every problem that we encounter. And he talks about all of the different realities, and they're all happening right now. They're all happening right now. So when he's talking about the illness energy, then you get hooked by the pendulum and you get hooked into the illness. And really and truly, the healing energy is also a pendulum, but it's not a destructive pendulum. So if you give your energy to the healing, you're going to see healing. And an example of that would be, actually, and it's going to sound paradoxical, but it's falling in love with the pain and sitting with the pain and going, okay, I feel this, it hurts, and just giving it space to breathe and giving it because really and truly, if you think about it, a pendulum just wants your energy, and we don't want to give it to the pendulum. But I have to throw this in right quick, is one of the best ways to stop a pendulum is with laughter, with humor, and you sit back and observe it. So how I just said, I'm going to sit back and look at this ache in my elbow, and it's just hurting and hurting and hurting. And I'm going to sit with it for a little bit and go, okay, I'm gonna fall in love with this pain. And you could even add laughter. Oh yeah, Kathie, that's so freaking funny that you're gonna love this pain because it hurts so bad. But when you do that, you're going to become an observer. And a lot of Vadim Zeland's teachings are very common with Neville Goddard as well, because Neville Goddard teaches us to just be the observer of what's going on. What's going on. And so you may be able to give some examples of what I'm talking about here and how it relates to how you coach as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think even like to share a personal example from my own life. I've had scoliosis from a very young age. I was told that I've shared my story many times on here, but I was told I needed surgery at a young age and decided not to get the surgery. So now, if I start to have some back pain, my family will go, "Oh, yeah, this is the time. You might have to, go in and consider surgery." And we've been waiting for this. And I even tell like my mom please envision me ideally, don't see me getting surgery in your mind. Like ask your family members to envision you ideally, or people in your life that maybe have negative things to say about the healing treatments you're doing, especially if you've decided to not go the route of surgery, not go the route of medication, and to do things naturally. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, no shame. If that's what people have decided they need to do, Western medicine can be amazing if you really need it. But I think what you're saying, like how you get pulled into these pendulums, so then you start to think, well, I'm just not going to get better. I was even speaking with a client today, and she has been complaining of hip soreness and hip pain, and we've been working on it. And she said, I just think this is the way I am now. I'm never going to get better. I just have to deal with it. I'm just going to have to cope with it. And then we kind of talked about that a little bit more to try to see if we could reframe her thinking about that. Because a lot of us just have programmed in us that because we're getting older, it just means that we're slowly going to decline over time and get worse and worse. And I mean, how many of your friends or people will say like, oh, it's just aging, I'm just getting old. And yet there's people out there that are 105 and doing yoga every day. I mean, not as common, but if you keep moving your body, then maybe you could be 105 and still doing yoga. So we have to just like start thinking differently. And it sounds like that's what this book is teaching us to do, is to reframe it and not allow ourselves to get pulled into that group think that just because we age, our body is going to have to suffer.
Yes. So I love that you started telling everybody in your world that, hey, just picture me ideal, because if that's the route you want to go without surgery, and you honestly, your heart knows the way, your intuition knows the way, and you've already honed in on that. So to have people who are really important in your world to just picture you ideally is really good. I've been a fitness trainer since 2002. I'm also certified to work with older adults. And one thing I have found is older adults tend to use that as a crutch. Like they'll say, I can't do this, I can do this. And I've trained a lot of people who are 60, 70, 80, and if I've trained them long enough, I know what they can do. And so they start to get in their mind that they can't do it. And whether you think you can or you cannot, you are right, because it's more in the power of your mind and using that to your advantage, as well as having other people support you with their group think, so that you don't go to the way where you are feeling the pain. Like your client said, I'm just going to be this way. It's going to be this way because I'm older, and it's better to not give your energy to that pendulum and go, okay, here I am. I'm going to switch this way. And another thing Vadim says that I really, really like in the book, he goes, don't just take my word for it. Don't believe me. You try it, you do it, and then you get results and you'll start to see. But it doesn't just take one day of going, okay, I'm gonna think I'm not in pain anymore. It takes, because the longer you've been like that, the more you've got to unprogram yourself.
Mm. Yeah, and the cool thing about this book because I just recently discovered this book and I told Kathie, and that's why I was excited about it. And I was like, wow, there's so much in here that could apply to what we're doing here in the group and the work that I do with clients. And let's have a conversation about it, because it's really like this guide to how the universe works, and not only talking about quantum mechanics. There's a lot of books out there that talk about quantum physics and creating your own reality, and there's Joe Dispenza who really focuses on that when it comes to the body and pain. But not that many people have a book that really lays out step by step. And then he even gives these really specific examples of the energy meridians, how to work with the energy in your body, various techniques you can do. So one of those is in that same chapter on energy. He says, to practice transurfing effectively, you must be able to swiftly enter a relaxed state in any situation. That This doesn't require self-suggestion. Muscles respond to intention, not words. Simply scanning your body with awareness can release tension. Many muscles, especially in the back, become difficult to control due to a sedentary lifestyle leading to pain. Regular stretching and movement are essential. To relax, scan. So I like how he says that too. He's like, yeah, you need to also stretch, do movement. That's essential. You need to, move your body, not have a sedentary lifestyle, but also you can use your mind to relax your muscles as well. So he talks about both. And then he talks about the energy currents. He says you can scan your body with your inner eye to release tension. And so he goes into a whole practice on how you can do that, which would be cool to do a whole nother video on a guided meditation. Have you practiced this yourself, Kathie? What do you think about this?
Oh yeah, for sure. The meridians he's talking about is kind of aligns with chakras, and you just release that energy that's it's balled up in there. When I'm talking to a regular client, I'm not going to bring up metaphysics and stuff like that, but when it comes to stress and pain inside the body, we hold a lot of pain in our back, especially in our upper back, and that tightens up. And actually what happens is you get really strong in your back because you've been so tense, and then you start to lose the muscle in your chest and front of the body because that's a weaker muscle group. So it affects your posture, and you can start going like this because you've got so much tension back there. So when he talks about relaxing all of that and feeling where the pain is and releasing it, you're just working through all of that and getting that movement back to normal, and also getting the body back, your posture back, and getting your chest stronger so that it can pull everything else up, and not the back doesn't have to take all of that. So when you focus on his guided meditation, or releasing all that tension in those different meridians he talks about, you start to find, oh, okay, I'm so tight there, and then I let it go, and things like that.
Mm, yeah, so powerful. So yeah, he also gives a practice in the book on step by step, a specific visualization practice aimed at restoring the natural energy circulation. And so he recommends starting by relaxing your body, then doing a visualization, so closing your eyes and imagining a warm, healing light flowing through your spine. And then visualizing this light, and you can just quickly do this as I'm saying this if you're watching this live or the replay. You can visualize this light moving gently along your back, dissolving any blockages, easing tension in the muscles. And then as you're breathing with this, you can begin to synchronize this visualization with deep, steady breaths, inhaling positivity, positive energy into your body, and exhaling the discomfort. So really powerful guided meditation that he gives there in the book. And really what he's talking about is just how to direct our energy, how to direct our focus and direct our intention. And what I would also add, and he talks about this as well, and I'd like to also hear your thoughts on this, Kathie, but he talks about visualizing your health goals. So seeing yourself doing the things that you wouldn't be able to do or that you don't think you can do because you're limited by this condition or by this pain, and seeing yourself being able to achieve that goal. So I use this myself for many different conditions. And for plantar fasciitis, so what I did for that is I had this case of plantar fasciitis that just wouldn't go away. And I just visualized myself climbing a mountain, backpacking and hiking with no pain in my foot. And then eventually, after a few months, I found myself backpacking for 3 days in Yosemite, going, 10 to 15 miles a day. And I thought to myself, oh, this is what I had visualized myself doing. And sometimes that's how these things work, is you'll do these meditations and then you sort of forget about it. then you get better, and then you have this experience where you're like, oh wow, that's actually what I had intended would happen. Here it is happening. So it's really magical. How do you relate to that, Kathie?
Yeah. So that visualization is super powerful. I that is what Vadim calls a slide, where you visualize yourself in the goal that you're trying to achieve. And actually, a lot of what you're talking about is, like, I started with this. It's a lot of similar teachings. Joe Dispenza teaches this. Also, Neville Goddard teaches this, so that when you visualize yourself in state akin to sleep, or as you're falling to sleep at night, that's the most powerful time to do it, because what it does is it reprograms your subconscious mind, where your subconscious mind is taking everything literally. So if you're going, oh my God, I have this bad headache and it just won't go away and it won't go away, well, if you're saying that, your subconscious mind is going, okay, it won't go away. It's not going to go away, because it just takes everything with whatever you say. But if you visualize with the slide tool that he's talking about, where, like Neville Goddard says, a state akin to sleep, and you start to visualize, then you'll see it come to fruition. And I love how you did that with plantar fasciitis and actually got the result. And we do that more often than we think. So a lot of times pain and aging and just not feeling very good and very energetic has a lot to do with what your subconscious mind is thinking and programming you along the way. So let's visualize a positive side to have more energy and to feel better.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yes. This is why this is one of the main pillars of my program, which is to incorporate the subconscious mind work. Because if you're only working on the physical, but you're not diving into the beliefs around why you are struggling with this particular issue, even if it's an injury, because some people might be like, well, I got injured and it wasn't my fault. Somebody hit me or whatever. But, sometimes we create these experiences in our life, and you'll often notice that, there's this term accident prone. Well, what does that mean? Why would somebody be accident prone? I'm not saying that everyone that gets in an accident is accident prone, but you might have known a few of these people in your life where it feels like they're always tripping and, spraining their ankle or breaking something. And, some people might think, well, maybe that person's just clumsy, but it could have to do with some belief that that person has. Maybe as a kid, they were told by their parents, you're really clumsy, you're always hurting yourself. And then they just kept perpetuating that. So it's really important to investigate some of these deeper beliefs. So can you tell us a little bit more about the slide process? Like if somebody wanted to go about creating their own slide, how would they do that?
So a slide is just a visualization of yourself, and the clearer you get on the slide, whatever your goal is, like let's say you want to be a public speaker and you want to start speaking on stages, you picture yourself on the slide as being your best and doing the best job you can. And the more often you can do that with your imagination, the stronger the result is going to be, that you are actually going to be the best and you're going to be that slide that you're visualizing. And the slide constantly gets better and better and more clear and more clear. And you mentioned having limiting beliefs. They don't just, they accumulate. And then as you start to find more and more things that you're getting better and better, you're getting out of that, you start to find more. It's an ever going journey. That's why he says there's infinite realities, and at any point in time, you can access any of those realities, that where you don't have pain, where you do feel great, where you are a great public speaker, where you are visualizing that slide and keeping the faith in the visualization of the slide. That's really, really important, because it's, like I said, it's an ongoing journey. It's not just a destination. You're going to get there and that's going to be gone. You start to learn more and more and more things. And not that that's bad, because actually what that does is you just go to another reality, you go to another reality, you go to another reality.
Hmm. Yeah, I really want to encourage folks that are watching this to allow that to sink in, this idea that the reality where you're not in pain or where you're not struggling with this issue, whatever it is, exists. And this has to do with the quantum field. But there's these parallel realities that exist, and that you are able to access that reality via the information in this book. There's teachers out there that taught people how to do this. And even though it sounds super esoteric, for me, I think there's so many people that have written about this and talked about this. And we're talking about Neville Goddard. For some people, maybe they don't know who that is. He's like one of the best new thought leaders who basically talked about manifestation, but really guided people step by step on how to do the process of creating the life that they wanted to create. And he has many books that he wrote that are wonderful books I'd highly suggest. But I mean, for me too, I have experimented with this and I've had a lot of success doing this, and it's powerful. So it's really cool that people like um, Vadim that wrote this book have guided us on the exact steps to improve our health, to have the life of our dreams, and that it is possible for us. And we need to probably maintain consistency with this, right, Kathie? Would you say that's really important, being consistent with this
Yes.
information?
Yes, and that's something that Neville teaches too, is being consistent and persistent, because you are going to experience things in the world, or the 3D world, they call it, and you're going to experience your old reality because of the way you've been thinking all these years. And the more deep that thought is programmed into your subconscious, the more you're going to perpetuate it in the 3D world. But when you realize that, you'll start to see things differently, because you've got to stay consistent and persistent even when things don't appear to be going the way you think that they should. They will start changing as more and more and more. And what I encourage a lot of people to do is find something small that you want to manifest. Maybe it's a new dog, and you're picturing it in your mind and envisioning all of the feelings that go with it, holding it, seeing it, and get really clear on that picture and try to manifest that first. And then once you convince yourself of that, it's easier to stay consistent when things are not going the way you think that they should go, as in the 3D world.
Mm, yes. I wouldn't call manifesting a dog a small thing, but that's just for me because I'm not a dog person, that it's hard for me to visualize myself with a dog. So,
Well, I think it's more, it's more about something small that you want. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's just something for your house that you just really want to have, and just get it real clear in your imagination. Maybe it's a new coffee pot, and just envision that, and envision
mhm.
that working perfectly and really good coffee coming out of it, something like that. I'm just thinking because one of my coaches manifested a cat, and what happened was her cat was not being real cuddly, and then all of a sudden she came home from work one day, and this cat just was there, and it was following her everywhere, and it wanted her to hold it, and it wanted, and she couldn't find the owner, so she manifested that. But she manifests a lot of things. And honestly, I don't even know that I like the word manifestation, because it sounds like you're trying to get something from the universe, but as opposed to feeling it and envisioning it in your imagination. And when you do that and you actually bring it into your reality, or you go to that reality that has that specific thing, you start to realize, oh, this is how I did it. And because honestly, we're always creating our own reality every moment, all the time. And it just depends on what your thoughts are thinking. That's why being consistent and persistent is so important, because the old thoughts that you were thinking are creating what's going on right now.
Hmm. Yeah, it's pretty interesting to reverse engineer these things and go back and think, well, when I had that experience, what was I thinking at that time? What was going on for me? What was my inner experience that created that outer experience. So for folks that are really interested in this and you want to give this a shot, maybe this is way out there, but I mean, why not try it? Especially if you've been struggling with, say, chronic pain and like nothing you've tried is working. I mean, why not try this? It's free. You don't need to go buy any like crazy biohacking tool that costs $10,000. You can just sit down for 2 minutes and try this meditation out. So here are the steps. Step one is to identify the desired outcome, clearly define what is your goal. So what does a pain-free state look like for you? That would be step one. Step two is to create a vivid mental image of it. So develop what Vadim is calling a slide or a mental image of yourself in this desired state, and really incorporate all of your senses to make it as real as possible. Okay, you can write these down. Number three, regular visualization. So keep dedicating time daily. And like I said before, it doesn't have to take you 30 minutes. It literally can take you 1 minute. Visualize this positive slide, fully immersing yourself in the experience. And all of these, manifestation teachers have pretty much said these same things, these same steps. Number four would be reinforce it with positive emotions. So it's not just thought, it's also your emotions, what you're feeling. So associative positive emotions with visualization, such as joy, freedom. What are you going to feel if you are able to achieve this goal? And then number five, lastly, is to maintain consistency like we spoke about before. Consistency is key. So regularly practice this. It'll help to reinforce those new neural pathways associated with the desired outcome. And do you have any examples, Kathie, of kind of how you've applied this information, ways you've seen it transform your life?
Yeah, so I think it's also important to mention your self-talk and how you talk to yourself, and then also the story that you share. So if catch yourself, are you telling stories? So for example, um, I went through some horrible situations through a divorce, and that's okay. My problem was, and I can see it in retrospect, is I was just telling the same story to anybody who would listen. It is a poor, pitiful person. And I remember exactly the day I was telling somebody what happened to me, and maybe it was like 6 years prior. And I was like, it sounds like I'm talking about a different person, because I was already on a different timeline. And when I started picking that up, I was like, oh, okay. And I started seeing things. I love the steps you laid out, because those are really, really important. But I think that a mental diet also should be included in there, as well as your self-talk, because we talk to ourselves more than we talk to anybody else. And it's been proven, we think over 90,000 thoughts a day, maybe 60,000. But a lot of times those thoughts happen to be the same thoughts every single day. Instead of, like Jenna mentioned, the neural pathways are going to be the same. And once you get them really ingrained, it takes really persistent and consistent thoughts and visualizations to really shift to that new reality. And I like the thought of just imagination, and going there and finding a place where you just enjoy going in that imagination. Jenna also mentioned using all five of your senses. Explode it until, like, don't come out of that imaginary act until you really, really feel it, because that's going to make it happen a lot quicker. If you can feel it with all of your senses, like you think it really happened, it's powerful. And that's my experience with it.
Yes, that's definitely my experience with it too. And I think over the years of practicing this, one thing I've discovered for myself is that I'll notice if I do the visualization and I'll kind of get this like body sensation of this almost like this shake of like, okay, it's done. And so over time, as you start to explore and experiment with this, you find your own way with it. and you discover what works for you, and you start to kind of get some intuitive insights about how to do this, because I think that we're all born with this ability to create our desired reality. This is what this book is pointing to and teaching us to do, is to just reclaim this power that we've always had to remember it, right?
Yes, for sure. And I love that you mentioned intuition because I think we were going to talk about this too, is Vadim calls it outer intention. And I like to think of that as God's intention or the universe. And once we align with that, I believe you get that little jolt or that shake. And it's like, oh my goodness, I just aligned with that. And then that's where the imagination comes in because you're using your consciousness to bring in that reality, bring in that slide of no more pain, living pain free, bring in that slide of hiking without the plantar fasciitis. And the more you share that story, and even in your own subconscious, but then you share it with others, and you, like we started this, we don't let the others in our reality tell us, oh, we've got to get surgery. No, picture me as ideal and it will change. And I've actually pictured people as ideal when they're talking to me. So if they're telling me, oh my gosh, I'm having heart issues and things like that, and then I'll talk to them a few weeks later, and they're not even my clients. These are like family members. And I'll talk to them a few weeks later and I'm like, well, how did that doctor's appointment go? What happened? And I really pictured them ideal, and they were ideal. And they came back to me saying I'm ideal. And so it's been proven that this can happen even when you practice something like Ho'oponopono. I know I'm going off on another subject, but it's kind of the same thing. Like I said, it all points to the same thing. But when you practice that, where you send somebody ideal thoughts in your imagination, it does actually change things.
Wow. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. That is a powerful practice, the Ho'oponopono practice. And I know when I was living in Hawaii for a while, someone taught me that you should always go to sleep without having resentment towards somebody. If you were in an argument with that person, you should try to resolve it before you go to sleep, and why not? Why hold on to these things and carry these things with us as we go into the dream world? And so that's one of the aspects of Ho'oponopono as well. And Ho'oponopono towards ourselves, of self forgiving ourselves as well. And there's so many cultures and traditions that have their own way with all of this information. So that's beautiful that you brought that up. Um, I know this is, I mean, it's such a big topic, and there's so much in this book. It's a long book. There's how many, do you know how many chapters are in it?
I don't know how many chapters. I know it's 736 pages.
Yeah,
And
that's why I wanted.
you mentioned in the beginning, I'm sorry to talk over you,
Oh,
but we
good.
mentioned in the beginning how this book just has all the answers. And I have the hard copy. I have it on Kindle. And I will open the book to a random page and it will explain something to me. Now, I've read the book through 3 times. So when I open it up, I'm like, oh, it's kind of like the Bible. You open it up and here's your answer to whatever you happen to be thinking about.
Mm. I do that with a lot of books too. Open them up like a tarot card, get
Yeah.
a tarot card reading from that particular teacher. But I've been doing that too. I've been watching the videos on YouTube. There's a lot of, free information out there too. If you don't want to go ahead and buy the book, you can watch some of the videos for free of people reciting the book. But I've had the same experience where it just pops up on my feed exactly the information and the chapter that I needed some insights from for whatever I was going through, that day. So that's really powerful. Wonderful. Well, any other insights that you would like to share with us before we wrap this up?
Yes, there is one, and you kind of just brought it up. Another thing that he mentions that I stand by is that there's advantage in everything that you encounter. So he talks about advantage a lot in the book. And even in a so-called bad situation, you find advantage in it and it turns everything around and makes it work to your advantage. And it's just like Jenna just mentioned how she'll find the video that she needed right there. And that's honestly, that's the algorithm at work, but that's the universe's or God's algorithm at work. And if you trust in it and you have faith in it and you believe in it, it will come to fruition. You will find your answers to your problems, so-called problems, and you'll find the advantage that's there. So for example, if you're suffering from some kind of pain, if you want to find advantage in that, who knows, maybe that pain is going to be something you can help somebody else with along the line at a later time. Or you can teach somebody, hey, guess what? I got out of this pain by doing this, this, and this. And who knows? And that could come along your path at the right moment. And that is all working to your advantage. So yes.
Mm. Well, I can definitely relate to that with my own work and just the journey that I've been on in my life with pain and how I've transformed it into my purpose and my work that I do um, with clients. And I also just wanted to quickly go back to what you had mentioned about the self-talk, because I think that's something that people can uh, apply right away from our conversation today. Just noticing how you are relating to the condition that you're experiencing. So if you're having back pain, what are the thoughts you're thinking throughout the day about your back pain? Are you thinking to yourself, oh, I'm going to get up and it's going to hurt when I first get out of bed? Because like you said, that just reinforces those neural pathways that create more of that. I did a live stream on this, so if anyone actually is interested in watching that live stream, you can just comment self-talk below and I will send you the link for that live stream. But really important to just notice how we are relating to our, condition mentally. What are we thinking about it? Um, and I also really loved what you said about, basically praying about what's going on for you, asking the universe, even if you don't believe in God or don't believe in a higher power, to just set the intention that you want to heal is quite powerful. You can write it down or you can just say it out loud to really express that intention and put it out there. And what I've seen every time I've done this, the answer has come to me. And, this is actually what I was doing with the plantar fasciitis because nothing I was doing was working. And I remember watching a YouTube video and someone was like, you should try praying about this. And I was like, oh, yeah, obviously, I don't know why I haven't tried that. And put the intention out there. And then, right away, I started to find some answers that gave me the healing that I was looking for. So it's pretty powerful stuff, right?
Yes, for sure, for sure. And I want that just brings me back to Ho'oponopono because Ho'oponopono is an ancient Hawaiian practice and is just saying four sentences. It's a forgiveness practice. And the four sentences are I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and thank you. And you don't even have to believe in them. I've even heard it said that all you need to do is say thank you and it is done. But I say Ho'oponopono over food before I eat it, especially if I'm going to be eating junk food. And it seems to work for me because I'm like, okay, it didn't get, but I don't eat a lot of junk food. But anyways, you know what I'm saying. But I also pray Ho'oponopono over my business or over my clients or over my family or people who are having those issues. And I really believe that changes the neural pathways and changes everything. Back to self-talk. How you talk to yourself, especially in the morning, is the most it's going to set your intentions for the day. So what kind of intentions are you setting? And a lot of times we don't even realize that we're sitting there telling ourselves, I can't do this because I'm hurting, or I can't do this because I'm getting too old, or I can't do this and da da da. But when you start to catch it, you can change it. And that's what's important.
Right. Yes. That's so powerful. Yeah, and then you just get better, practicing this more and more, right? And if this is your first time trying this, it can feel really overwhelming to start to pay attention to your thoughts, how you're thinking about yourself, how you're relating to your experience with your body. But like anything, over time, as you develop that relationship, the relationship deepens, the connection deepens. You start to understand your body better and listen to its signals, and have a much deeper communication with it. So That's so powerful. I also wanted to thank all the folks that have jumped on here live today. Thank you for all your comments. Welcome to Jill and Nessie, and some other folks I saw here that had jumped on. And if you have any questions, we have a second where we could answer any questions that you might have, ways that this could apply to what you have going on. And while we're doing that, Kathie, how can people find you? Maybe you can mention your YouTube channel as well, and I'll link that in the comments for folks.
Yeah, so I am a corporate wellness consultant and wellness coach. I've been a fitness trainer for a long time, but I also talk about reality transurfing a little bit. It's more like a hobby. I do have a reality transurfing uh, email list, and I send them out once a week. But you can find all of that at my name, KathieOwen.com. And I have also /reality transurfing for more information on reality transurfing, because I've written a lot of blog posts on it. I've been following it for years, and I'm really kind of passionate about that topic as well. So yeah, you can find me there.
Amazing. I will put that in the comments for folks on YouTube and as well as on the Facebook group. And I would also love to support you if you would like some insights on how this information could apply to what you have going on, any particular conditions that you're struggling with. So if you want to comment support below, I will go ahead and reach out to you. And yeah, thank you everyone so much for joining. Thank you for this conversation. Kathie, this has been so insightful, and thank you for your expertise on the subject and for all that you've shared with us today.
Thank you for having me, Jenna, and thank you to your audience. Y'all be sure to reach out to Jenna. She's very knowledgeable and helpful, and I know some of my clients follow you as well. And I hope you find your solutions.
Thank you so much, Kathie, and we will see everyone next time. Take care.